Hi folks, we're back in the garden farm at our place, and we're going to be doing the raised beds and veg garden prep for this year. So stick around and we're going to make a start. So I haven't posted it yet, but we've got a new video coming out shortly on the new laying birds. So they're in the pen now, and I'll talk about how we rotate that in a future video. I will let them out today because there's no disruption they can cause too much. We've also got a duck who's got a problem with one chicken. Very confused. I've still got these stumps to get out. I did try building a huge bonfire here, but it's amazing how resilient nature is. It barely touched it. But I'll get the saw out and we'll just take them out. I've dug down, we'll cut them off there. They're not going to grow back. And then the raised beds will be all on this area here. We're pretty flat here, but it's just a little bit high here. So I'm going to dig up a little bit more of this, stack it up there, and then we'll be done. First of all, let's release the dinosaurs. Come on. Well, that's the last of those. There's loads of ways of getting stumps out. That was pretty brutal. You can jack them out with a big jack, or you can burn them out or use a stump grinder. But I think that should be alright. I don't think they're going to grow back. And nothing's actually going to be put here apart from a pathway and potentially the shed. So it's time to backfill that, flatten it off, and it should be able to get that at the same level as the rest of the plot. Right, I'd say we're pretty level with what's going on down here now, all the way across. So we need to now get the weed matting. It's getting a bit windy, so sorry if you got some distortion on the mic. So if we go up to the top, where the ducts are hanging out. Now this is the messy part. Over here is where we're going to be pouring the slab for the workshop build in the future. Now, for now, everything's just been dumped here and I've been weeding my way through it. I've cleared out, believe it or not, lots of what was on here. This is where I built the oak last year. But you can see under all of it, there's a patch of landscape fabric about the same size as the veg patch. I'm hoping that we can reuse it all. Underneath is just sand, which is ready for a DPM and the concrete slab. So we can remove all this. Good, well we've got pretty much all of what we need. Kids want to go to the toy shop, we promised them that, so I'm going to head off and do that. All I need to buy, what I really hate when it comes to any membrane, whether it's a damp proof membrane or a landscape fabric like this, is joins. If you can avoid it, then do, because you can get this stuff on 5-6 meter width rolls, up to 50 meters or so. So you shouldn't have to have a join. Because we're reusing it, I do have a join along there. We can peg that down anyway, but I'm going to have to buy a 2 meter strip, maybe a 1 meter strip to finish off where it joins the path. But we'll peg it really nicely and have a really good overlap. But when you see this stuff go wrong is when people just use the 1 meter rolls that you pick up in the store. You don't peg it down properly, you don't put enough top dressing on, whether that's chippings or gravel, and you see bits and then it frays and it just looks a state. So you really want to get everything as flat as possible, biggest piece as possible, peg it down really well, and then a really good decent top dressing. We're going to be using wood chippings on the pathways between the beds, so it should all be good. Here she comes. So this little stretch of fence here is, I don't know why, we used to have the hedge here. So about 3 years ago I built the fence, had this bit to finish. I'm trying to use up what I've got. I've got some of the original pickets that were left over, plus I've also had to use a slightly thicker rail, but hopefully it won't be too obvious. And a lot of this will be covered once the new raised beds are in. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm just using my spirit level as a spacer, string line to pin the top of them, and then just screwing them in with some little green exterior wood screws. I think I'm going to leave it there for today. We'll pick up the rest of this video tomorrow before we start the actual project. So I'll show you kind of the site we've got to work with. So the gate to build will fit in this gap here, but that's not the priority. The priority is the veg garden itself. So the first job tomorrow will be to peg out, flatten and sort all this. Right, we're back on the prep and I've pretty much finished flattening off the bottom of the bed where we put that new fence in last night. What I'm doing now is just kind of stepping it because there's too much of a slope up by the shed. Rather than trying to take out this whole high spot, I'm just going to do a step before we come up to the polytunnel. So I'm just trying to dig out some of this compacted soil which was under an old piece of fabric. And this is why having chickens in the garden is so good. Digging these big chunks and just chucking them straight over into the pen. But if you look, within seconds they break it all down, root through it, and soon you have pretty soft, easy to sieve soil. So when we go to backfill the beds in a couple of days, we'll be able to sieve all this and we're all good. You do just have to mind out that you don't knock them out with a lump of soil. Down the other side temporarily with some bricks, and I've got a bit of excess here, so rather than cut it short of the raspberry bed, I'm actually just going to do some slits in it to stop stuff growing up around them. I will actually do a small raised bed around, but for now it should just about get to the picket. Right, pretty much there now, I think. I'm going to have a final sweep up, put some more bricks down. I need to grab some more ground pegs to peg the lot down and make sure that the edges, because weeds are pretty clever things and they'll still find their way up. So along the edge, the retaining timber board, I'll actually sandwich it between a batten and that, so there's no way it can get up there. And again, along the concrete path, I'll sort something else out there. Because we've got bindweed in such a big way here, it's amazing. I mean, I just pulled up some of this matting that's down for 2 years and the roots are under there, they're still fine and they're still going to the edges and shooting up. So, you know, if I totaled up the amount of days each year that I spend weeding, it's just a lost battle. So that's the reason for this. There's far more priorities in life than weeding. At least we've got a nice blank canvas ready for the actual build, which will be a future video. I've got the picket fence to paint, might get around to that beforehand, but if not, the next part for this part of the garden will be building these raised beds. All the timber arrived today and I'm pretty excited. It's going to be a good one. I've got the polytunnel is just packed full of seedlings ready to plant out, so pressure's on to get this done, get growing and get some food on the table. You can check out all the rest of the food it yourself videos, the garden farm type stuff. I'll make a playlist, stick at the end of this one, enjoy that. By the time you've caught up on all that old stuff, when I have more hair and more time, then we should be ready for this one. So thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. We'll see you next time.